5, 4, 3, 2, 1. CTS podcast. We return after a week hiatus.
1 week, yes.
Yes.
I think that's
because
how I
of
set
some
'em up to release.
Yeah, because of some
Hopefully everyone enjoyed the
Can't even get a word out.
trivia last episode. That was kind of fun. I definitely won, but
Okay. I'm just not going to give him any sort of nod to his overarching ego problems. But this week in politics, we were talking about this. This is interesting. Probably one of the more interesting stories. There is news breaking that Russia, China, and some other nations, including India, Brazil, and South Africa, are in the process of forming a new reserve currency that's tied to natural resources like gold, silver, copper, all of these natural resources, as opposed to the U.S. dollar, which is tied to debt. I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
how does the tying it to natural resources work? Because I understand tying it to a single natural resource, the gold standard, kind of makes sense. Like gold has a set price, and you have as much gold as the currency in circulation. How does, and this is just probably me being ignorant, but how would it work with kind of a bunch of different natural resources across a bunch of different countries?
I would think that you assign a value to each natural
set a
resource,
price.
and then it's just every dollar is tied to that, is what I would guess. But the end of the U.S. dollar would be the end of the U.S. economy being number one. It would be a pretty
Do you think
quick
that would
free fall.
end the U.S. dollar? If that,
I don't know.
how successful do you think that would be? Because China kind of makes sense. India is a big population center, but Brazil isn't really a giant economic player.
Brazil's economy is huge. I think it's the biggest in the Western Hemisphere next to the United States.
Is it?
I think GDP-wise, it's bigger than Canada. Might be wrong about that, but it's certainly the biggest in South America. And then you got South Africa, which it's probably up there. I don't think South Africa is the biggest economy in Africa though.
No.
I
Yeah.
don't think it's
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. That's probably a ways out though. It feels like.
I think that you're probably looking at 20 to 30 years before. I don't know though. The US dollar is, we'll see. I don't know. But I just thought that was an interesting story of kind of, new developments, and Russia has been stockpiling gold for years now, even before
Is Russia
they went into
involved?
Ukraine. Yeah.
Okay, Russia was involved.
So they've been stockpiling a ton of gold, and everyone was like, why is Russia buying so much gold?
What happens as you deplete those natural resources? Do you just get kind of jacked? Are you the logistics don't make a ton of sense to me as far as
Dude,
how that works.
I still don't have a good understanding about how international monetary policy works.
Because what sets the price? What sets the trade values of the currency just as a whole? Because because there's the market basket thing where it's how much it costs to buy kind of a set group of items, and that's how they measure inflation. But how do they do that? Do they compare those across countries to make the what the value is, or is it the countries when they're trading with each other? How is that how they set the pound is $1.2?
So the inflation's a weird one because they used to calculate it differently, and now they calculate it a new way where essentially you literally have people from the government going into supermarkets and things like that and taking the price of milk, and then they compare it to what the price of milk was last year.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a super bizarre way to calculate inflation, by the way, to just take random regularly purchased items and assume some value to, I don't know, it's really quite bizarre.
That's I think though what that like market basket thing is you basically take like a wide swath of object like items and stuff that a kind of normal person would purchase. But yeah, no, what if the workers just really suck and take something that's like on sale?
Well,
It's
yeah.
like minus 80% inflation. No, that's just a buy one get one free.
Yeah.
U.S. government worker.
In other news, the Biden administration is refusing to call the current state of the economy a recession, which previously had been defined by 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth.
Mm-hmm.
And the sort of sidestepping that the Biden administration is doing is just hilarious. Like all of these mind games, what's the word I'm looking for? These mental gymnastics to go around saying that we're in a recession.
Well, and it's like that's been a definition that's like agreed upon for years and years and years.
Always. Yeah.
So how are you? Well, okay, I know if this had happened at any point in the last century, this would have been called a recession, but it's not right now, even though that's happening.
Well, and it's just like a slap in the face to American consumers too, that are, you can't, some people
Dealing
can't
with
even
the
afford
recession,
to
right?
buy gas. They can't afford certain things. And it's just such a weird situation because we're having this negative growth. The stock market is still on par with, decent trends like upwards. And then you have low unemployment, which is not typically associated with a recession, high consumer spending. It's really weird, the state of the economy right now. And I think it's because, well, COVID was so unique. They just pumped so much money into the economy, just never ending. And now,
now it's ending.
yeah, well, not even that. It seems like it's ending, but on one end, but then you have like the chip bill, which is $90 billion that's going to go into chip production facilities in the United States. And then you have Manchin agreeing to this reconciliation bill, which pissed a bunch of Republicans off, by the way. Have you heard about what happened with that story? So essentially, I'm completely blanking on his name, the Republican Senate Minority Leader. McConnell,
yeah.
So McConnell had said that they would not pass the chip bill if the reconciliation bill was being worked on by the Dems. So the Dems said, okay, we'll put aside the reconciliation bill.
Yeah.
The CHIPS bill passes, and within hours, Joe Manchin comes out, who was holding up the reconciliation bill, comes out and says that he had reached a deal with Schumer on the reconciliation bill. So now the Republicans got pissed off, and there was a bill before the Senate that was going to make mandatory spending for victims of like burns and poisonous gas,
burn pits,
veterans, victims of those burn pits. And the Republicans are essentially going to vote no on it, and they blocked it, which is like really, it's like, put aside your anger. Like what the Dems did was shady. Like it's just not good politics, or it's very good politics really. But put that aside. That's not the issue. You're voting on these like burn pit, funding for these. And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. It's weird how, well, even like you said, Manchin made a deal with Schumer. It's like, that's a weird concept that you're like making deals like, that feels more like a sports team making deals, not politics. Politicians shouldn't be, I don't know, really making deals within your own party. Like it's just a weird thing that kind of happens. Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand some of it'd be interesting to be kind of in the room and hear about all those, like, what gets, okay, like remove this line of this 300-page document and I'll say yes, as opposed to, I'm sure there's a ton of stuff like that.
The House voted on gay marriage, and voted in favor, I guess you could say. There was quite a few Republicans that joined him too. I think it was like 40 Republicans or something
Yeah.
like that. And then,
There was the gun control in the Senate
yeah, that would ban assault weapons.
that
That was in the
passed.
House, but yes.
No, I think there was the one in the Senate. There was one in the Senate, I'm pretty sure.
Well, there's a new
passed,
bill
like-
that would ban assault weapons that just passed the House like yesterday.
Oh, I thought one in the Senate passed like
Yeah, that was a while back.
54
Yeah.
or something. I couldn't remember if we had talked about it, but 'cause it was the one that like Romney voted yes on that we kind of heard about more because it was Utah.
And so this gay marriage bill is going to go before the Senate, and a lot of people think that the Senate is not going to get past the filibuster because of what the Dems did. So the Republicans are going to kind of vote against it in spite, which is interesting.
It is there's some weird. It feels like some of the political moves are like the reconciliation bill is something that's like I feel like was more controversial than something not controversial but less likely to get passed than something like the gay marriage. And so it's kind of weird that it feels like you're kind of like, what's the saying, like cutting off the nose despite the face, where the Democrats are like doing these weird political games that causes retribution from the GOP, and then like the more important goals kind of get messed up by that.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm trying to think of there was a bunch of crazy stuff that passed the House. There was a bill that would protect contraceptives that passed the House, and it got widespread Republican dissent. I think there was only a handful of Republicans that voted in favor, which is crazy to me.
It's crazy how those votes are just so along party lines. Like almost every single one you see, and maybe that's just you don't see the ones that are like unanimous. It could be the case, but it seems like so many of those are along party lines, and it's like the U.S. is such a diverse like country. There's no way all of those like representatives, their constituents, have the exact same beliefs on every single issue that goes before that you end up like voting pretty much straight along party lines. I don't buy that. If you let people just do like a vote on those issues, there's no way it'd go along party lines.
A sex trafficking bill passed the House with widespread support from both parties. I think there was like 12 Republicans that voted against it, one of whom was Matt Gaetz, who is currently being investigated for trafficking a 17-year-old girl. Have you heard about that? We talked about it. Ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's being investigated for that, and he voted against this new funding for not the best look.
Not a good. Yeah, there might be a conflict of interest, and probably you should not be a politician.
Yeah, something like that. I would agree.
Point. Let's see. Biden got COVID twice, but he's doing good, apparently, with the. So the Paxlovid thing, that wasn't the thing from like the start of the pandemic.
Wait, what thing?
Paxlovid, it's like the medication they take for people that have like symptoms of COVID.
Yeah.
That wasn't the thing from the start of the pandemic that everyone was freaking out about, right?
No, it was something with an M. It was
ivermectin.
Ivermectin.
That's what it was. Okay, I was.
Well, there was another one too before ivermectin. It was something with an M. It was like some long name.
Yeah,
I don't remember, but
it wasn't the same thing. They
right.
weren't. Because I think my first reaction when I saw that, I was like, wait, was that the same thing? Because that would be pretty like two-faced if there was all that backlash to it at first. No, it's like, oh yeah, the president's taking it, but it's crazy. The like double COVID. is.
Oof.
Oh, I don't know if I've ever heard of that.
You know, getting it once is like, okay, you got it, but twice is
Well,
COVID's taking the piss at
and
that
it's
point.
not even getting it once. It was back to back. It was like I get like tons of people have had it a bunch of times. Like there's a lot of people that have had it a bunch of times, and but to get it, I mean, the first time he tested positive was like last week, and then I guess he was testing negative. I bet there's not a person in the world that's tested more times than Joe Biden. I bet he gets tested like 4 or 5 times a day.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't know, knock on wood, but I've never gotten it. It's so weird. I've been tested for it like, I think at this point 4 times, and I've never had it.
That's not that many
crazy.
times to get tested for it.
4
for
times over the course of like 3
2
years.
years.
Every time I got sick,
That's true.
I got tested
Yeah.
for it,
Yeah, no.
which means I've gotten sick with other things. Not monkeypox though, which is a crazy one. How crazy is monkeypox?
Well,
Have you seen like the symptoms and like
It looks bad.
it looks terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like smallpox, right?
Yeah.
But hopefully it's not. Like, it's not. I think everyone's so like hyper cautious right now that anything like the next big kind of outbreak of anything was gonna warrant just a massive response of people being like, oh my gosh, like hopefully this one doesn't turn out to be quite as big.
So I want to get your take on this. Do you remember when COVID originally started, and it was pretty well founded that it originated in China, and there was all this rhetoric that you shouldn't treat Chinese people any differently, which is completely true and fair.
Yeah.
But with this monkeypox stuff, I don't know if you've seen what the CDC has been saying about it, but the CDC on their website and like the director of the CDC have been like actively tying monkeypox to gay people. So on their website, when you scroll down and you look at like, okay, symptoms of monkeypox, the graphic that they show is 2 men in bed together. And then when the director went on CNN, she said that it primarily is transmitted through, bodily contact.
Like close contact.
And then she said, well, the 2 cases that originated in children were as a result of, they were from 2 men-loving men, is what she called it. And I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, that seems really unfair even though it has nothing to do with sexual orientation. It's kind of like the AIDS thing, right? Where everyone originally thought that.
Where that's the community it's like primarily affecting right now.
Right,
And
right.
so it's
but
like,
it has nothing to do with, that sort of, it has nothing to do with gay sexual intercourse. It's just.
Yeah. It's just it is weird that the CDC, it was on the China thing. I mean, it was even to be like, oh, it came from China. Like that was like,
it was bad
controversial.
To say. Yeah. When Trump called it the China virus, which it's a little bit disrespectful, but it's quite literally true.
Not that. I mean, it probably is more about context. Like if you're I don't know. Yeah, that's a weird one. That's a weird one from the CDC. The CDC doesn't seem to have the greatest, has come under a lot more scrutiny lately.
Did you know that Fauci's the highest paid person in our government? The highest paid, period.
There's no way he was the highest paid before the pandemic.
Yeah, I doubt it.
There's no way.
I doubt it. He has been with the NHS or whatever for so many years.
But there's still no way he was the highest paid person in the government.
He makes more than the president.
And yeah, that's crazy. Well, that one, because the president, like, comparatively doesn't make that much money.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, $400,000, but all the people that have become president are, like, wealthy, like, pretty wealthy already, and are extremely wealthy after they leave the presidency. But, did you see, this is like kind of off topic, but that the Clintons, when they were like left, when Bill Clinton like was out of office, they like stole the silverware from the White House.
Yeah, Trump took a lot of stuff too, though. I know
Yeah,
that.
no, I just the Clinton ones, because the Trump one, you're like, it's probably Trump just being like, all right, pack my stuff up and like just throwing everything in, as opposed to like, because Trump's right, like a billionaire. He's not.
Yeah.
The Clinton one seems more funny, that it's like, oh, they like intentionally took, but that's just kind of a funny story.
I'm trying to think of any new political developments.
Oh, we talked about, I mean, sorry, there's a little bit like in England, kind of the new prime minister. It's getting closer.
Who's it between? It's between that like Katie Ochel, I think her name is, something like that.
I was just watching stuff about it. It was, I can't even remember their specific names now, but there was one lady that was like, people were like, oh, she's got it, she's gonna like sweep right through.
I think it's, yeah, they're like cabinet member that oversees defense or something.
And then all of a sudden, like something came out, and it was like immediately just, oh, she's gone, like she's not going to be the prime minister. And it was something, I remember seeing it on the news, and it was something like small. It wasn't anything big or important. It was some position she had taken like 8 or 9 years ago on one issue, and that immediately ruled her out from being prime minister.
Excuse me, Henry got
goodness.
me. This is live transmission of sickness right now. Henry got me sick just
I choked
now.
on water.
I just
so
choked
I
on
don't
this.
know. But okay. So let's see. Anything else happen recently? I'm trying to think. I haven't been super in the loop on politics stuff the last little bit, but
I don't think so. I think just
no one's announced like presidential candidacy yet. I saw some article about like Eric Trump's like golf bag at whatever like golf tournament they were playing in this weekend, had people thinking like, oh, Trump's gonna run in 2024, which is, that's weird to me. We can maybe end on this. It's, why would you run? Like, you're a billionaire. You did it once. Why would you do it again?
So the only reason I would think he does it again is because I actually think Georgia is going to make a decision on charging him, and they need to do it before he announces his candidacy. Because if they do it after he announces his candidacy, it's just bad looks.
You can just write it off. Oh, it's a political move. Like, they're campaigning against me.
Yeah, and then, I mean, the press, imagine a persecution of a political person by the DOJ.
What's the precedent that sets is that we can start like, okay, just attack this candidate, but so you just like delay it a few years to give your lawyers time to figure out like what you're gonna do after, if you hopefully win.
Here's the weird thing is that why is the Republican National Committee, from what I've read, is threatening to say we're not gonna help finance anything for you if you run, which kind of makes me think that they're going to back DeSantis.
Yeah.
And if you remember in the previous cycle, and when Trump first ran in 2016, the RNC was actively trying to bring Trump down. I mean, they were backing Ted Cruz and everyone else but Trump, but Trump was polling so well. So I think that they're going to do the same thing, except now he's got to worry about DeSantis, who is very popular and much more reasonable in terms of optics than Trump.
Yeah.
I think if Trump runs against Biden or Kamala, Trump wins. I think if DeSantis runs against Biden or Kamala, DeSantis wins. But I think if Trump runs against a different Democrat, say Gavin Newsom or say Elizabeth Warren, I think it gets a lot closer.
Yeah. Could you imagine if it's just Trump Biden again in the primary?
Well,
or
Trump
in the
would sweep
general
him.
election?
Trump would sweep him. I mean, that's just how it is. And DeSantis would too. And the Dems know that. I mean, that's why I'm saying they just need to have Biden announce that he's not going to run again.
That's a tough call, though, to make, to be like, hey, Biden, you're not you're not running again.
I don't think he wants to. He's so old.
But I don't know, but he won't say. And all the reports coming out are that Kamala Harris is like upset because she thought that he was basically going to just like pave the way for her to run later. And that's not the vibe like her team's getting.
She's so unpopular. She's more unpopular than Biden.
Well, her own people, she's unpopular with her own people. Have you seen all the staffers and stuff that have left?
Yeah.
Like everyone, every single one of her top staffers is left.
She's kind of, I think she's, anyways, I don't want to get into more about
We've
Kamala.
done-
We've done a number on Kamala already.
Well,
but
hopefully the next election cycle.
I think if DeSantis runs, DeSantis wins against any Democrat that you throw against him.
Really?
Yeah. If DeSantis announces, the only thing that could stop him from winning the nomination is Trump. And even if Trump wins the nomination, I think DeSantis becomes his VP.
What's funny is DeSantis like might not win governor in Florida.
It's really close. Yeah.
So it's like that's funny that he's like because when is that election?
November, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty soon, right?
Yeah.
So that probably hurts your kind of presidential run, right? If you lose your gubernatorial election.
I think he'll win. I don't think there's
it
any
was
way that he won't
close
win.
though.
Polling always favors Democrats, it seems. And once you get to election day, it's usually a little bit of a different story.
Yeah.
The Republican, especially with how things are projected right now, with Republicans winning the House and probably the Senate,
Yeah.
I think that's when Biden will announce he's not running
That's
after the Republicans
he'll
take
just
office.
in a lame duck
Yeah.
presidency, and you're
Yeah.
just except. Oh gosh, you probably can't. You probably can't announce like you're not gonna run because then nothing happens for 2 years.
Well, yeah, that's why they're trying to delay the announcement. But he's not going to run again.
I don't know.
I'd be willing to bet so much money. There's no way. And Kamala won't either because she's so unpopular. And even if she does,
Well, she's gonna run. I just don't think she wins,
yeah.
which is tough for. What about Pence? Is Pence gonna run?
Pence is flirting with running, but I don't think Pence is very popular because the difference between Pence and DeSantis is DeSantis will win the Republican vote, like the moderate Republican vote, and he'll win the Trump supporter vote. Whereas Pence will win the moderate Republican vote, but he will never win over a Trump supporter. So
You think a Trump supporter would rather vote for
DeSantis over
No, I mean like if like DeSantis and Trump split the DeSantis Trump vote in the primary and Pence takes like everyone else or someone like Pence like a Ted Cruz or like a little more moderate kind of
So
candidate.
I actually think that once DeSantis announces, I don't think there will be other Republican contenders.
Really?
I think that you'll
It'll
have
just
a
be Trump
very
versus
limited
DeSantis?
pool. It'll be Trump versus DeSantis, or maybe you throw in like
Whatever happened to Jeb Bush?
that guy. Well, I think we've seen the last Bush that we need.
Could
in
you
this
imagine
country.
if he had won? Like, what a crazy family record.
Yeah.
Like, your dad and two brothers. I feel bad if you're one of the other Bush siblings.
right.
Man, it kind of was not a very successful
Are they the only father-son duo to hold the presidency?
John Adams.
And Quincy Adams?
Yeah.
And then what
Right.
about FDR and Theodore Roosevelt?
Not related. No relation.
Oh, they're not related.
No.
I don't know about that.
I'm 100%
Okay.
sure.
Anyways, let's wrap this episode up. This
Yeah,
is the
it's
CTS podcast. What episode is this, Henry?
I don't know. I wouldn't say a number.
I'm going to go with 63.
I said don't say